Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Thank you for joining me today. In this video, I want to show you how to set up your herbal home apothecary. You don't have to do it exactly like me, just want to give you some tips and some ideas. So why would you want to do this? Why would you want to get started in herbs? First off, herbs are a wonderful way to support and nourish your body in health, and also if you're not doing so well. Our ancestors of old, long before there were conventionally available pharmaceuticals, this is essentially what they used. And so having a setup that works for you and your space is something that really will benefit you no matter what confronts you. So oftentimes if you buy bulk herbs, which is what you see here, then they're going to come in standard Mylar bags. If you get them on the Patriot Nurse website, this is how you receive them in bulk in the 20 herb kit. So you can totally leave them in there. That will prolong their shelf life because Mylar does of course protect from insects and bugs, etc. But it's not the best way really to store them day to day. If you're going to be using herbs day to day or on a somewhat regular basis, you want to be able to have access to the herbs in a way that works for you, in a system that can help you A, readily identify them, B, keep them organized. If you have been a prepper or someone focused on survival and preparedness for a while, the overwhelming deluge of stuff can swamp and drown you, and clutter is the enemy of efficiency. If you have so much stuff, even if it's good stuff, if you have a huge box sitting somewhere of all these different herbs, that's fantastic, but how do you find them? Having to pull through everything, it's not a great system. So this is how I've set up mine, and these are half-gallon mason jars, and they've each been labeled with the herbs that I regularly use. If you've ever trained with me, taken a class with me, or taken the online course, you'll know that most of these herbs are part of the 20 herb bundle that we talk about, and also the 20 herbs that we cover in their individual usages and historical applications. So when you look up here, you can set it up a different way if you like. You can do them alphabetically, you can do them by your favorite herbs. I tend to work with these herbs here that are eye level the most, and then the herbs that are kind of my supplementary herbs, I'll put them up here. In addition to storing the herbs, you want an actual workspace, and you want some simple tools that can help you prepare different types of herbal preparations. The easiest one really to start with is the tea. Most people have made a tea out of a tea bag at some point in their life, but how do you take these herbs in bulk and convert them to a tea that's usable, and how do you mix and match them? You need a few tools to help you with your setup, so let's get to that. So a very simple setup here, the most basic of setups. You want a French press or some way of a vessel of holding the liquids with the herbs, and then a way to strain it. Here's a mortar and pestle if you're trying to grind your cut and sifted herbs into a fine powder. You can use that for various different applications. And then of course a way of boiling water. I have just a standard electric kettle here, no big deal. And then also, if you want to get a little bit more fancy, you can use an electric kitchen scale. Another helpful thing to have is these funnels. Now this one actually was my great-grandmother's. It's the antique ones. But these are the ones that you standardly can get from supply stores. So friends, right down the line, what we have here, we've got various different herbs that are set up. During wintertime, I tend to go through actually quite a lot of these 5 herbs in particular. Mullein, which of course has an affinity for supporting and nourishing the lungs. Red raspberry, which is actually a dual purpose. This guy can support and nourish the upper respiratory tract, but also due to its astringent properties, it can nourish and support the digestive system. It's also the friend of women. Lobelia, which you really don't need that much. This is kind of funny because I end up using a ton of this, and very little bit of this. Lobelia is, Dr. Christopher called it the thinking herb. It's kind of like the missile guidance system for the other herbs, and helps to, it's called an amphoteric herb actually, it's a fancy term for it. Much of this is what we talk about actually in the course online, so I'm only covering just the briefest of things here today. So if you definitely want a deeper dive, then I encourage you to train with me online. I got that link in the description box below for the course. Comfrey gets kind of a bad rap actually, because, and an unfair one I would say. The leaves in the above ground parts of the plant are much lower in some of the compounds, which if you Google and you go down the fear trail of whatever so-and-so said from WebMD, they're going to try and scare the living daylights out of you with this plant. This is a very, very valuable plant. It has several hundred years track record, definitely on the record of about 2,000 years if you consider some of the Greco-Roman times. But this is great for supporting and nourishing tissues, for helping to support and nourish bones. It was used by Roman surgeons as a first aid for breaks and sprains, and also for helping to reknit tissues. Yarrow is a wonderful herb. This herb set up here, yarrow being a diaphoretic herb, this herb helps you to build into a good sweat, which is something that you would want if you were embracing the supportive methodology of fever management, which we talk about so often. But you can see here that having all of these at at a glance and at an easy access point. It allows you to see your options, and that's a really key thing when you're setting up your system. You need to see your options, particularly if you're in a scenario where you're caring for someone that you love. You might have your adrenaline up a little bit, and in many cases it can be a little bit challenging to try and think and, you know, what do I remember? This is one of the reasons why I recommend having a very good reference. So when you have everything at a glance here, and when you have it all labeled, you can see what you have, you can see what your possible combinations are, and it's amazing because particularly if you pray and you ask God to help you, it is amazing just to see how the clarity of your mind will work when it comes to what do I need, what's going to benefit this person. So obviously I recommend doing your due diligence in your academic study, which is one of the reasons I teach this, but I am a huge believer that if you ask in faith, the Lord will reveal to you what it is that you are supposed to use to help support and nourish the people in your lives. So speaking of resources, this is a selection of some of my own personal resources in my library that I've included here. Try and keep them close by. It's funny because this countertop gets used for various different things, so these books tend to migrate 5 feet to the left or right just depending on what I'm doing for the day. But the School of Natural Healing, actually, the herbal syllabus and the School of Natural Healing down here are very, very valuable, and these are considered, in my opinion, the gold standard. There's also a really great intro right here, which is the Herbal Home Healthcare. And regardless of where you get these books from, you can check them out of the library for free. You can purchase your own. In my opinion, if you're only going to have 2 references, I would definitely get the Herbal Home Healthcare, the Dr. Christopher's Herbal Home Healthcare, and then the School of Natural Healing. Both of those we actually sell with our bundles online. But you don't have to get them through me, you can get them through somewhere else. But I definitely recommend that you have those because these are really your go-tos, and they're going to help you as far as your references but also your preparations. So there are many different things that you can do with these books. You can use them as references, you can also use them as recipes. Rosemary Gladstar, a very well-respected North American herbalist, has several books that I like and recommend. She has an herbal recipe book that's really good, and also she has the Medicinal Herbs Beginner Guide. So having your references close by so that way you don't have to run through the house trying to find everything. Having it all in one place is really going to serve you, so you have your references and your herbs together in a one-stop shop. So friends, I hope you've enjoyed the Herbal Apothecary tour today in my home. I have created for myself some red raspberry and comfrey tea to assist me in supporting and nourishing my respiratory tract during cough, cold, flu, and winter woe season. So this is just an example of what you can do. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but it's a great start. And if you're wanting to learn more, you can train with me online. I have a course that's available online, and it's over 7 hours worth of coursework with a downloadable 80-page workbook for your reference and also for you to work through little bit by little bit at your own pace. You can stop, rewind, take the course as many times as you need to take it, and you can learn how to do this. As a matter of fact, when you come and train with me in person, only in person, all of my students who take my boot camp class with the in-person herbal classes, they get one of these special Patriot Nurse aprons. So that's the only way you get them though. Sorry. I hope the video was helpful for y'all today. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll subscribe to me here on YouTube, Patriot Nurse. You can also stay with me and support me on Patreon, Subscribe Star, Cryptocurrency, and PayPal. I got links below. And again, if you'd like to train with me, that link's in the description box below, and you can find it at the Patriot Nurse website, thepatriotnurse.com. Hope it was helpful for y'all. Have a wonderful day. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later.